During the Great Patriotic War, many heroic and outstanding people fought in the ranks of the Red Army and in partisan detachments. Among them, a special place belongs to Varvara Petrovna Vervich, a woman who went down in history as one of the most successful saboteurs of that war. Among her comrades and enemies, she was known by the nickname Bandit Katya. During the Nazi occupation, Varvara operated in the vicinity of the town of Dobrush in the Gomel region, where her daring missions terrified the occupiers. The Germans considered her so dangerous that they placed a huge bounty on her capture by the standards of the time: 3,000 marks, 5 poods of salt, and a 25-hectare plot of land. For a peasant, these were untold riches, but even such promises did not help the enemy catch Katya. The people hid and protected her. Varvara was born in the Belarusian town of Lelchitsy in 1922, into an educated family. Her father worked as the director of a match factory in Pinsk, and the family valued education and hard work. Before the war, Varvara enrolled at the Odessa Polytechnic Institute, where she studied engineering. She was an active Komsomol member, dreaming of a future in technology and construction. When the war began, she was already in her second year. Like many of her peers, she could not remain on the sidelines and volunteered for the front. At first, Vervich served on a medical train, helping evacuate and care for the wounded. She worked as a nurse, but soon fell seriously ill and was unable to continue her service. She was removed from the train and left at the Kagan station, where she received treatment and recovered. The illness, however, did not break her determination. After regaining her health, Varvara decided to dedicate herself to more active struggle and entered a scout school in Bokhara. There, far from the front lines, she underwent serious training. At the scout school, Vervich mastered the art of sabotage. She learned to plant mines, blow up bridges and trains. She trained in firing machine guns and automatic weapons, and learned to operate a radio station, a rare and valuable skill for a woman at that time. Vervich became a versatile fighter, a signaler, radio operator, saboteur, and commander. In 1943, Varvara was sent behind enemy lines, into the Vetka and Dobrush districts of the Gomel region. Her call sign was Katya. There she joined the partisan movement and soon created her own sabotage detachment, composed mostly of young Komsomol members. They operated mainly near the Bryansk-Gomel railway, which had strategic importance for the Germans. It carried military cargo, weapons, ammunition, and food supplies for the occupied territories. The detachment's base was located about 100 kilometers from the railway line, deep in the forests, where it was almost impossible for the enemy to find their camp. One partisan, recalling the commander's swiftness and daring, suggested naming the detachment after the legendary Marshal Semyon Budyonny. The name was symbolic. Their sabotage missions were to resemble lightning-fast Cossack raids, sudden, sharp, with a strike like the sweep of a cavalry saber. The partisans moved on horseback, seizing horses from the Germans. This gave the unit mobility and the ability to disappear quickly after an attack. Their actions were rehearsed down to the smallest detail: suddenly emerge from the forest, strike, an explosion, rails blown up, a convoy destroyed, and just as swiftly retreat back into the thickets, vanishing among the swamps and dense pine woods. Their first major and successful act of sabotage took place near the Zakopatai station. On that occasion, partisan Ilya Reznikov, risking his life, brought a bomb in an ordinary peasant cart, disguised as cargo. He managed to mine the railway tracks, and when a German train passed over, it derailed and was completely destroyed. This operation marked the beginning of the detachment's combat glory and cemented Varvara Vervich's reputation as a brave and cold-blooded commander. She was known as a reckless girl, ready for any risk, yet at the same time she was distinguished by a rare composure for those days. She never gave in to panic, always acted thoughtfully, which helped her avoid fatal mistakes. Vervich fought with particular ferocity. In her native Pinsk, she once saw her parents hanged by the Germans. This became a personal tragedy and gave her a powerful inner drive for the fight. From that moment on, the war for her was not just a duty but an act of vengeance. Varya had reliable contacts in almost every settlement in the district. Civilians helped her with food, shelter, and intelligence. Thanks to this, the partisan detachment could carry out active operations without losing contact with the local population. Under her command, numerous missions were conducted to blow up trains carrying food, weapons, and ammunition for the Germans, as well as to deliver explosives to other partisan groups. Over time, her detachment grew to 150 people. This was already a serious force capable of putting real pressure on the occupiers. During the war, they derailed 27 trains, carried out 85 explosions on the railway, and distributed among the population a huge number of leaflets calling for resistance. One of the most successful operations of the sabotage unit under Varvara Vervich's command was the destruction of a large ammunition depot in the settlement of Novo. This feat, like many of her other daring actions, became widely known thanks to the article "The Elusive Avengers," published in the magazine Smina in December 1943. The piece described in detail the methods of the partisan group, its secrecy, determination, and remarkable resourcefulness. One particularly impressive episode took place on the Bryansk-Gomel railway. The partisans planted an explosive device on the tracks, but for some reason the bomb did not go off, and the first train passed safely. For many, that would have been the end of the mission, but Varvara was not one to retreat. Together with a comrade, she crept back to the tracks under the cover of night and planted a second mine. It seemed that this time success was assured, but the second train also passed unharmed. The atmosphere turned heavy with disappointment. The risk was immense, and at any moment the Germans could have spotted the saboteurs. Yet Katya showed iron composure. She decided on a third attempt, fastening the detonator with an ordinary shoelace, anything to make it more secure, and set the mine again. This time fortune was on her side. A powerful explosion thundered in the hills, the train derailed, and the Germans lost an entire load. This act of sabotage spread panic among the occupiers. The enemy's response was swift. Security on the railway was greatly reinforced, patrols appeared at stations and bridges, inspections increased. This complicated partisan operations, and the detachment had to retreat deeper into the forests to maintain freedom of action and avoid encirclement. Varvara herself constantly dreamed of creating a large Komsomol organization that could deliver more massive and damaging blows to the enemy. Her idea soon came to life. In the area, a combat detachment was formed, made up of young people from nearby villages and towns. Over time, its numbers grew to 140 fighters, a real force, able to act boldly and daringly. The partisans moved on horseback. The horses were taken from Germans and collaborators. There was even a legend about them. It was said the fighters appeared at the railway like ghosts, suddenly, silently, as if from nowhere. They would stealthily approach the tracks, plant concealed mines, stage ambushes, and then just as quickly vanish, leaving no trace behind. Katya felt at home in these lands like a fish in water. The territory around Dobrush was dotted with small villages and hamlets, but most of it was impenetrable forests and swamps, the perfect environment for partisan life. In this wilderness they lived and operated. There were their shelters, caches, supplies, and escape routes. The locals knew the trails, goat paths, and hidden gullies. All of this gave the detachment a tremendous advantage. Nevertheless, police raids occurred from time to time. They came suddenly, combed the surroundings, hunted for traitors, and sometimes brutally executed those they managed to catch. The police tracked people down, ambushed them in remote places, captured and mercilessly shot them. But gradually their repressions turned against them. The reputation of the detachment and the fear of retribution grew, and soon the number of police in the district noticeably decreased. Many either fled or stopped showing themselves. The whole village whispered, it was better not to cross Katya and her people. Katya accepted into her unit only decisive, brave, and energetic people. Those who would not falter at the moment of a blast, who knew how to hide quickly and not give themselves away. There were many such volunteers. Young people from nearby villages and hamlets came to her out of a sense of justice, hatred of the occupiers, or simply for revenge. One of her closest aides was a shy, quiet young man named Fyodor Kukarev. He came to the detachment with a confession. Carrying out sabotage alone frightened and unsettled him, so he asked to join their ranks. It turned out that Fyodor was an active participant in the emerging underground Komsomol movement in the Dobrush district, and in this circle he quickly earned trust. He was appointed commander of a sabotage group responsible for blowing up railway lines between Zakopatai and Dobrush and the surrounding stations. The group's work was polished. They left the forest closer to nightfall, approached the tracks unnoticed, camouflaged mines with branches and soil, installed detonators, and then just as silently disappeared back into the woods. If the partisans entered a village, they could simultaneously blow up tracks at several sections, paralyzing enemy transport, and leave before dawn. Once, personal grief struck one of the fighters. In Dobrush, the father of partisan Pankov was killed. It was not just a loss, it was a blow to the entire underground. The Komsomol members of the detachment gathered and unanimously decided to take revenge. The underground fighters of the Dobrush district acted boldly and decisively. Thus, the Shantsev brothers, together with 16-year-old Natasha Malasheva, organized the bombing of a house where the chief of police and the burgomaster lived. The explosion was powerful and destructive, but fate was favorable to the enemies. By sheer luck both survived, though the house was reduced to rubble. This failure only fueled the determination of the underground fighters. Then Pankov managed to track down the head of the local police. He captured him, took him outside the city, and there, beyond the gardens, executed him, carrying out retribution. About Varvara Petrovna Vervich, known by the nickname Katya, people in the district spoke as of the main inspiration for the local youth. She not only personally directed sabotage missions but also knew how to inspire others. Under her leadership, young people felt part of a great cause. The underground fighters and partisans of her detachment never suffered a major failure. They acted cautiously, thoughtfully, and at the same time boldly. The people called them the elusive Avengers, since the enemy tried in vain to track the group, always encountering only the aftermath of their sabotage: blown-up bridges, derailed trains, and destroyed depots. Throughout all their active operations, Katya's detachment lost only 4 comrades, and all of them fell not because of betrayal or mistakes, but in open battles, when they had to face the enemy head-on. This too became a legend, that Katya protected her people and never sent them to senseless death. When in November 1943 Soviet troops liberated the Gomel region, the need for underground actions disappeared. Then 150 young Komsomol members, united in 15 organizations created by Varvara, emerged from the underground. Varvara Vervich herself became the first secretary of the District Komsomol Committee of Dobrush, continuing the struggle in peaceful conditions. Now her task was to restore her native land and educate the new youth. After the end of the Great Patriotic War, Varvara did not stop there. She received a higher education, graduating from Belarusian State University, and for many years worked in the national economy. Her work was connected with managing the enterprise Lelchitsaneft, which was engaged in oil and gas extraction, a strategic sector for the whole country. Vervich proved herself not only as a military leader, but also as a competent manager and organizer. In her personal life, she also found happiness. She married, taking the surname of her husband, Pankov, with whom she shared both the memories of her partisan youth and the hardships of war. For her service to the motherland, Varvara Petrovna was awarded the Order of the Patriotic War, 2nd class, the Order of the Red Banner, and the Medal Partisan of the Patriotic War. Over the years, the name of Varvara Vervich became one of the best known among women heroines who took part in the Great Patriotic War. Her activity played an important role in the ultimate victory over fascism, and her biography became an example for thousands of young people of the post-war generation. Today Varvara Petrovna is 99 years old.